Africa Twin notes and observations, brought to you by Ducati Monster 1100. Wonderful machines. Air cooled. I don't think any of them had dry clutches though. I think that might have been beyond. Can't remember if the Evo. I think this, yeah, that must be Evo. Whatever. Don't care. What we care about is the Africa Twin. So, what do we got? I have me doing oil leak mitigation because a dealership I took it for service work managed to unfortunately leave this crankcase breather either off or loose or something. It would immediately upon startup start smelling like oil and then burning because it just immediately goes down to the exhaust. And it was quite a cleanup. I got it cleaned up. I feel pretty good about it. Honest mistake. No hate on the technician. It is what it is. It just unfortunately was quicker for me to take care of it than to drive the 45 minutes to Motorsport Hillsboro and back and then do that again to go pick it up. Also, it allows me to tweak out on the bike. There's a lot to tweak out on when you have all the body work off as far as cleaning and inspection. And I'm not nice to this machine at all. I've beat it up pretty good. I take it off-road a lot. And when I take it off-road, I'm not just talking dirt roads. I actually do the thing, as they say. So, before I have this completely back together, I wanted to take some notes for some Africa Twinners so that they know what to expect when disassembling the bike. Mainly to get to the air filters, because I got it to the point where you can get to the air filters, and it really isn't that difficult to do. Take the tank off, it's also pretty easy. I have to remove these thingamajigabobbers here on each side. They have two bolts that very easily fall into the clutches of the bike's mass down here. And then there's also this clip, essentially, that is on each side of this. No, it's here. Right there and right there. And you just kind of have to get something in there and get them off. That allows the tank to come back enough to be able to get it up, to get access to these two vents, this connector, and I believe it's this connector. So let's have a look. This is, of course, after you've gotten the bodywork off. And these side pieces, note the Velcro. They do have grommet boops, but they also have the Velcro. You get this up. That one brown connector, how now brown connector, is not what I was thinking it is. I'm gonna have to investigate that. Oh, that, let's get the airbox off. I should do that now. How embarrassing. Okay, so I thought I was gonna have to use that to do the airbox, but I didn't. I just had to pull this wire down, but we'll get to that. Anyway, so these two connectors. Push down on that, and it's really difficult to do that with it in the bike, but that releases the connector, the lock. This one, because it's covered with stuff, same deal. You have to press on the flat side, and that opens that up. The fuel line has a tricky little, fiddly little connector. You don't need to pop this out too much. It only goes that far. Oop, see, I did it. You saw how easy that was for me to undo that one-handed. And look at how fiddly this part is. Look at the features. It's so fiddly. Once you have it out, you have to kind of work the entire thing back in, which I don't think I'm going to be able to do one-handed. Oh, look at that. I did it. You got to make sure that those are on that one side and try and keep it from coming out, because it fell, and of course it's white, so it's difficult to see. But that's all you need to do is that, and then that allows these features on either side to move out, and you can pretty much just pull the connector off. If you need to see the other side, you can probably get access to another one somewhere. Yeah, right there. If you absolutely had to, you could play with that one, but I'm not touching it. So you lift it up. I usually put a block of wood in this area while I'm doing this to keep strain from happening on the stuff, so that lifts the tank. I'll show that when I put the tank on. And then you have access to your air filters, and it's super easy. They're just right there. These snorkel tubes have a little bit of a I don't know what you call that, a clip fitting, and when you undo the Phillips head screws, so there's 3, and note that looks like it's a Phillips head or a screw, but it's just a drain hole for the air intake if there's water in it. And then the air filters are right there, and they're 2 screws as well. Easy peasy. That is not something that should be considered difficult to do for an Africa Twin owner with a base level of knowledge of tools. You should be able to do this absolutely without question. Getting the air box off is a little bit more complicated. It's not horrible, but it's just a little bit more complicated. 1 bolt, 2 bolt, 3 bolt. These bolts go through this plastic shroud thing that is here, and there are 2 tricky little top hat spacers that once you get this all off, they want to fall out. I guarantee you this one would fall out and go in here, and you'd be in a bad way trying to find it. Once you get the bolts out, you undo these 2 clamps that are holding the intake on. Then you move this out of the way. If you can get that off of there, great. It's a little piece of plastic, but I was able to just kind of maneuver this away and start with this one. And then I would absolutely go to this one. This is an intake engine breather from the valve cover. There's 2 of those, and this one would definitely, you would go in here with a long set of pliers and just boop it up, knowing that might fall, keeping an eye on it, or you boop it down and let the tube go up. When you have a tube like that, you always would try and tend to, instead of pulling like a Chinese finger cuff style, you would stick a larger, flatter thing, preferably that doesn't mar anything, a big screwdriver that isn't gonna do any damage, and push the tube up out of the way. Once you do that, you make sure that this is kind of loose. It's an airbox drain. You make sure that this one is loose. It's another airbox drain that's easy to get to. And then this one, which is way stuffed right here. You make sure that those are all loose. Pull them up if you have to. Be mindful that they do have sharp edged clamps on them, which is kind of design. And then the whole airbox just pops right off. That's fine. Getting it back on is a whole nother proposition, because you're dealing with managing these 3 tubes, the crankcase breathers, and there's 1 electrical connector that is underneath there, centrally located, that is tough to manage, but it's manageable. So that's how you get the airbox off, if you need to get the airbox off. First connector's here. That's where you press right there. Second connector's over here. You just press right there for the electrical connections, and then you've got the 2 vent hoses which don't have clips on them. Just pull and or push from the lip. This clip, again, you just barely have to touch it. You do not need to put a lot of strain on it, and that's that white one. Looks like you can press this little boop here, and then that'll lift up, and then push that off. I, again, barely have it connected, and I usually put a block of wood or something in this area to kind of allow me to work here. And then put it into place, making sure that you get the those cups into their respective position on the rubber mounts. And then get it bolted up. They really are beautiful things, these bikes. these air filters are like maybe 1,000 miles old. I'd have to look at the work order when I was in, but I think the combo of like the mist from the breather must have been getting up where these intakes are, because they're kind of there. But that's nasty, and the stuff that's in there is definitely normal dirt, but like thickened and oiled a little.